Imagine being born in a place where your existence makes you an outsider, where beauty and worth are defined by size, and you, skinny and different, are told you don't belong. That was my reality in Mbano, where I was ridiculed, ignored, and made to feel like I was never enough. But I refused to let that define me. In the small sun-drained village of Mbano, the women were revered for their size. To be large in Mbano was to be beautiful, to be desired, to be considered a full woman. Women with round bellies, full hips, and wide arms moved through the village like goddesses, admired by men and celebrated by the community. It was a tradition passed down for generations, with every girl being groomed to embrace her fullness. Weight symbolized wealth, fertility, and the ability to nurture strong children, and a woman's grade was a badge of honor. But there was one exception to this ancient tradition. In the early hours of a humid harmattan morning, when the winds were sharp and the night sky still held the faintest trace of stars, Nnedi was born. The midwives who attended to her mother, Adamma, were accustomed with the cry of plump, round babies. But when Nnedi slipped into the world, she did so quietly, small and delicate, her limbs tiny as reeds. She didn't look anything like the babies they had seen before. "She is so small," whispered one of the older midwives, her face etched with confusion. Her fingers prodded Nnedi's fragile frame, as though waiting for her to suddenly swell in size. "Adamma, are you sure this baby is fully grown?" Adamma, exhausted from the labor, gazed at her daughter and felt a strange mix of love and worry. There was nothing wrong with Nnedi's health. She was breathing fine, her breath strong, but she was different. The other women who had given birth that month had produced children who are sturdy, fat-cheeked, and robust. Adamma wondered if her daughter would ever grow to resemble the women of their village. Adamma's husband, Chinedu, came into the small mud hut a few hours later. His face darkened when he saw his daughter's small frame, but he said nothing. In his mind, a girl born skinny in a village that celebrated fullness was not a blessing. He picked Nnedi up briefly, smiled briefly at his wife, and walked out, leaving her to cradle their new child. The whispers began almost immediately. Women in the village gossiped as they walked to the stream, fetching water in wide calabashes balanced on their heads. Nnedi, the tiny girl, she will grow fat with time, they assured themselves. Every girl did eventually. But as the year passed, Nnedi's body remained as it was, a slender figure in a village that celebrated size. But the time Nnedi was 10, her difference had become undeniable. The other girls her age, including her cousins, had already begun to develop the soft round forms of humanhood. They laughed and played with confidence, their dresses swaying in the breeze, their full arms jiggling with ease rhythm of youth. Nnedi, on the other hand, was a shadow of them, small, fragile, and always standing in the fringes of their conversation. At school, the other children teased her. They called her names like Nkata, meaning basket, implying that she was empty inside. Her thinness, once merely a curiosity, became a source of ridicule. The girls would refuse to play with her during breaks, claiming that she wasn't like them, that her appearance made them uncomfortable. "Why are you so skinny?" asked one of the girls one afternoon, her voice with mocking curiosity. "Are you sure your mother feeds you?" Nnedi, unsure of what to say, would lower her head, fighting back the tears that always threatened to spill over. It wasn't as though she didn't eat. Her mother gave her the same meals as the other children: yam, soup, beans, and even fish. But no matter how much she ate, her body simply refused to gain the weight that everyone else seemed to accumulate so easily. At home, Nnedi would sometimes sit by herself, staring into the distance, wondering why she had been born different. Her mother, though loving, couldn't protect her from the isolation she felt, and why Adamma offered words of comfort. telling her that everyone had their own path in life. Ned strictly longed to be like the other girls, to blend into the sea full of full-bodied women that filled her village. But fate had other plans for her. One day, when Ned was 16, something unexpected happened that would forever change the course of her life. The village was abuzz with news of an impending visit from traders who hailed from distant lands. Every few years, these traders would make their way to Mbano, bringing with them goods from faraway cities like Kano, Lagos, and even places outside Nigeria. The market would be filled with colorful fabrics, new foods, and strange exotic items that the villager rarely saw. On the day of the traders' arrival, Ned, like anyone else, made her way to the village square. She had no intention of buying anything. She didn't have money for such luxuries, but she was curious. She had always loved to hear stories about faraway lands, about cities with tall buildings, and people who lived different from those in Mbano. Perhaps, she thought, she would get a glimpse of those foreign wonders. As Ned wandered through the market, admiring the vibrant display of slicks, spices, and jewelries, she caught the eye of one of the traders. He was tall, with deep brown skin and a face marked with signs of age and wisdom. He wore a strange patterned robe that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. "Hello, dear young woman," the trader greeted in a voice that was surprisingly soft. "I noticed you from across the market." Ned was stuttered. She didn't expect anyone to notice her, let alone a stranger. "Good afternoon," she said cautiously. The man's eyes scanned her face, then her tiny frame, with a look of curiosity rather than disdain. "You are not like the other women in your village," he observed, his tone thoughtful. Ned stiffened, the familiar sting of her difference rising in her chest. "No, I'm not," she said, shortly, turning to walk away. "Wait," the trader called after her. "I meant no offense. In fact, I think your difference is remarkable." Ned stopped. Confusion clouded her mind. She turned her back. "What do you mean?" The man smiled, revealing a row of perfect white teeth. "I am a talent scout," he explained. "I travel to the country, looking for people with unique qualities to represent in the world of fashion and modeling. You, my dear, have a look that is not common. I think you could be a star." Ned stared at him, her heart pounding. She had heard of modeling, of women who walked down runways in Lagos and Abuja, but she had never thought of herself as someone who could be part of that world. Those women were glamorous, beautiful in ways she had never been told she was. "But I'm too skinny," Ned said, her voice laced with disbelief. "Here, no one finds me attractive." Oh. The trader chuckled softly. "That may be true here, but in the world I come from, your slim frame is perfectly what they are looking for. The fashion industry loves uniqueness, and you, my dear, are unique." For days, Ned wrestled with the trader's proportions. Could she really leave Mbano? Could she venture into a world so different from the one she had always known? Her parents, while protective, had always encouraged her dreams, but they have never imagined those dreams would take her so far away from home. When Ned told her mother about the opportunity, Adama was initially skeptical. "Fashion?" she asked, frowning. "What do you know about fashion?" "Nothing, Mama," Ned admitted. "But I think this could be my chance. My chance to be more than just the skinny girl in Mbano." Her mother sighed. "It is your decision, my daughter. If you think this is what you are meant to do, then go. Just remember where you come from." Her father was harder to convince. Chinedu had always been a traditional man, rooted in the value and customs of Mbano. He believed that a woman's place was at home, in the village, fulfilling her roles as a wife and mother. The idea of his daughter entering the world of fashion, surrounded by strangers, seemed alien and dangerous to him. "You are too young to be thinking about leaving," Chinedu argued. One evening, as they sat outside their home, the air heavy with the scent of evening meals cooking over wood fires. What do you know of Lagos and Abuja? What do you know of these strange people who wear old clothes and travel across the world? Fashion is not for girls like you. It is flirting things, a word of vanity. Neddy's heart sank. She had anticipated his resistance, but hoped she could change his mind. Papa, she began, her voice trembling with emotion. All my life, I have been different from everyone else. I have been teased, mocked, and made to feel like I don't belong here. But this is my chance to find where I do belong. I don't want to be a disappointment to you, but I need to know if there is more to me than just being the skinny girl. Chinedu fell silent. His brow frowned in deep thought. He looked at his daughter, seeing not just the fragile teen girl he had always known, but a young woman who was yearning for something bigger than the boundaries of their village could offer her. As much as he feared the unknown, he couldn't deny the determination he saw in Nnendi's eyes. After what felt like an eternity, he finally spoke. If this is truly what you want, I will not stand in your way. But promise me one thing, Nnedi. What is it, Papa? She asked, her heart lifting with cautious hope. Promise me that you will not forget who you are. That no matter how far you go, you will remember this village, your family, and the values we taught you. Nnedi nodded, tears tingling her eyes. I promise, Papa. With that, the decision was made. Nnedi would leave Mbano to pursue a future in the world of fashion. A future that none of them could fully envision, but one that felt like her destiny. The journey to Lagos was long and arduous. Nnedi had never left Mbano before, and the sparkling city with its towering buildings, endless traffic, and ceaseless noise was overwhelmed at first. But along the side, the chaos was a kind of beauty, an energy that pulsated through the streets, and a sign of possibility that Nnedi's heart raced with excitement. The trader who had recruited her, whose name was Mr. Adebayo, had connection with some of the most prominent modeling agencies in the country. He introduced her to the world of fashion shows, casting calls and photo shoots. At first, Nnedi felt like a fish out of the water. The models she encountered were confident, tall, and impossibly glamorous, turning down the runways with poses that seemed unattainable. She felt out of place among them, unsure of whether she truly belonged. But Mr. Adebayo had been right. Nnedi's unique look, a combination of her slim frame, shaped cheekbones, and tickling dark skin, quickly caught the attention of designers and photographers. They were drawn to her like moths to a flame, eager to showcase a new face that stood out in the industry. You have something special, said one of the photographers after a shoot in which Nnedi had modeled a line of intricate Ankara designs. You are not just beautiful, you are different. That's what the fashion world needs right now. Slowly but surely, Nnedi began to rise in the industry. She worked in fashion shows in Lagos, wearing clothes by some of the company's top designers. Her face graced the covers of fashion magazines, and soon her name was being whispered in the circles far beyond Nigerian borders. Offers began pouring in from international modeling agencies, eager to bring her to places like Paris, London, and New York. Despite her growing success, Nnedi never forgot the promise she made to her father. She remained grounded, always remembering where she came from. She called her family frequently, sending money back home to help them and keeping them updated on her life in the big city. But even as she ascended to the ladder of fame, there was a part of her that still longed for the simplicity of Mbano, the village that had shaped her, even though it had never truly embraced her. Years passed, and Nnedi's career soared to high she had never imagined. She traveled across the globe, modeling for some of the most famous designers in the world. Her face became synonymous with a new era of African beauty. one that celebrated diversity and broke free from traditional ideas. Yet, as she stood in the limelight, Nnedi began to feel the pull of something deeper, something that fame and fortune did not feel. One evening, after returning from a particular fashion week in Paris, Nnedi sat in her luxurious apartment overlooking the Lagos skyline. She felt restless, her mind drifting back to Mbano. It has been years since she has visited her village, and though she remained connected to her family, she realized that she has been avoiding going back home, afraid of what it could feel to return as someone who had changed so much. The next day, she made a decision. She called her agency and informed them that she needed to take a break from modeling. She didn't explain why, but she knew it was time to return home. When Nnedi arrived in Mbano, the village had not changed much. The same dirt roads wound through the landscape. The same women carried water from the stream, their full bodies swaying with the same grace she had remembered. But as she stepped out of the car, there was a difference in the way the villagers looked at her. They stared, some with awe, others with confusion, unsure of what to make of the young woman who had left them as skinny, shy girl and returned as a successful glamorous model. Nnedi walked through the village with her head held high, feeling the weight of her past and present collide. She made her way to her family's compound, where her mother and father greeted her with open arms. Adamma, now older, with silver streaks in her hair, embraced her tightly, while Chinedu, his face lined with years of wisdom, smiled proudly at the daughter who had found her place in the world. For the first few days, Nnedi felt like an outsider in her own home. The villagers treated her differently, as though she was some exotic creature, not the same girl who had grown up among them. But as the days passed, she began to reconnect with the rhythm of the village life, the sound of the drums at dusk, the smell of roasted yams in the air, and the laughter of children playing in the streets. One afternoon, as Nnedi sat by the stream, one of the younger girls approached her shyly. "Auntie Nnedi," the girl said softly, "I've heard so much about you. I want to be like you when I grow up." Nnedi smiled, looking at the girl's round face and soft frame. "You want to be a model?" she asked. The girl nodded. "Yes, but I'm not skinny like you. Do you think I could still be one?" Nnedi's heart swelled with emotions. She thought of her own journey, of how she has once wished to be like everyone else, never realizing that her uniqueness was her greatest strength. "Listen to me," she said gently. "You don't have to be like anyone else. The world is big, and it needs all kinds of beauty. You are perfect the way you are, and if you want to be a model or anything else, you can. Don't let anyone make you feel like you need to change to fit in." The girl smiled, her face wide with determination, and Nnedi realized that this was what her journey had been about all along. Not just finding her place in the world, but helping others do the same. Nnedi's return to Mbano was not just a homecoming. It was reckoning with her past, her identity, and her purpose. She began spending more time in the village, working with young girls, teaching them about self-confidence, and helping them understand that beauty came in all forms. She shared stories of her travels, of the places she has been, and people she had met. But most importantly, she listened to their stories. Through her journey, Nnedi had come to understand that her thinness, once a source of shame, was part of what made her extraordinary. But she also realized that every woman, whether fat or thin, had their own unique beauty and strength. It wasn't about conforming to one standard, but about embracing who you are. In the end, Nnedi didn't stay in Mbano forever. Her career in fashion continued to flourish, but she never forgot the lessons she had learned from her village. She visited often, using her platform to create opportunities for young girls across Nigeria, helping them to realize that they too could achieve greatness, no matter where they came from or what they looked like. And so, the girl who was mocked for being different had grown into a woman who inspired others to embrace their difference. Nnedi had become more than just a model. She was a living testimony to the idea that beauty, strength, and destiny are not bound by tradition or expectations. She had craved a path not just for herself, but for others who felt out of place, those who had been made to believe that their uniqueness was a flaw rather than a gift. In the years that followed, Nnedi's legacy in Mbano and beyond only grew. She started a foundation, the Gift of Difference, which supported young girls in rural communities across Nigeria, offering mentorship programs, scholarships, and opportunity for them to pursue careers in various fields, including fashion, education, and arts. Nnedi's stories was told and retold, and her name became synonym with empowerment and courage. Mbano, once a village steeped in tradition, ideas of beauty began to change too. The villagers, especially the young girls, started to view themselves differently. No longer was the size the sole maker of women's worth. Nnedi's success had opened their eyes to a broader world of possibilities. One bright afternoon, Nnedi returned to Mbano for a special occasion. The village square was filled with excitement, and the elders had gathered under the large Iroko tree to bless the new cultural center that was being opened in Nnedi's honor. As she stood before the gathered crowd, Nnedi felt a wave of emotion washed over her. The path to this moment had been long and difficult, filled with doubt, isolation, and struggle. But it had all led to this point where she could stand tall and proud, not just for herself, but for every girl who had ever felt out of place. Her mother and father were there, standing at the front of the crowd, beaming with pride. Chinedu, once so skeptical of his daughter's dreams, now understood that Nnedi had not only found her own way, but had also helped transform the lives of many others. Nnedi stepped forward, her voice steady and clear as she addressed the crowd. When I was a young girl, I didn't understand why I was different. I used to wish that I looked like everyone else, that I could fit in, but I have come to learn that things that makes us different are often the very things that makes us powerful. My journey had taught me that beauty is not just about appearance, but about confidence, courage, and kindness. She looked at the sea of faces, some old, some young, some round, some slim, and continued. I want every girl, every woman out there to know that you are beautiful in your own way. You don't need to change to fit anyone's expectations. You are enough. The crowd erupted with applause, and Nnedi felt tears prick her eyes. It was a full circle moment. She had once been the skinny girl who felt out of place in the village that revered size, but now she was a woman who had helped reshape the idea of what it meant to be beautiful. Years passed and Nnedi continued to travel the world, but her heart always remained tied to Mbano. The cultural center became a hub of creativity and empowerment, producing young women who went on to become doctors, engineers, artists, and even models who followed in Nnedi's footsteps. But more than that, the center became a symbol of what was possible when a community embraced the diversity of its people. Nnedi's foundation grew, expanded its reach across Africa, helping thousands of girls from marginalized communities pursue their dreams. Her story was taught in schools, and she became a global ambassador for women empowerment, speaking at conferences, university, and international forums about the importance of self-acceptance and the power of difference. Thank you for watching Besties. Please support your homegirl Coco by subscribing to my channel, liking and sharing with your loved ones. Bye for now till I come your way again with another mind-blowing and interesting stories. Bye-bye.